Maya Chen had always been different from other 16-year-old girls. While her classmates spent their Friday nights at parties or scrolling through social media, she preferred hiking alone through the dense forests surrounding her small town in Oregon. Her parents worried about her solitary nature, but Maya found peace among the towering pine trees and rushing streams. On this particular evening, storm clouds gathered overhead as Maya made her way back from her favorite spot by the old quarry. The wind picked up, causing branches to creak and sway ominously. She quickened her pace, not wanting to get caught in what looked like it would be a nasty thunderstorm. That's when she heard it, a sound unlike anything she'd ever encountered. It wasn't quite a whimper, not exactly a cry, but something in between. The sound was weak, desperate, and seemed to come from somewhere off the main trail. Maya stopped walking and listened carefully. There it was again. Fainter this time, as if whatever was making the noise was losing strength. Her logical mind told her to keep walking, to get home before the storm hit, but something deeper, more instinctive, pulled her toward the sound. She pushed through thick underbrush, branches catching at her jacket and scratching her arms. The sound grew slightly louder as she approached a small clearing she'd never noticed before. In the center of the clearing, partially hidden beneath fallen leaves and debris, lay something that made Maya gasp. At first glance, it looked like a large bird, perhaps a hawk or eagle that had been injured. But as Maya moved closer, she realized this creature was unlike anything she'd ever seen. It was about the size of a small dog, with scales that shimmered between deep blue and silver even in the dim evening light. Its body was sleek and serpentine, ending in a long tail. Most striking of all were its wings, translucent membranes that seemed to glow with their own inner light, now torn and bloodied. The creature's eyes opened as Maya approached, and she nearly stumbled backward in shock. They were large, intelligent eyes of the deepest amber, filled with an awareness that seemed almost human. Those eyes looked directly at Maya, and she felt a strange sensation as if the creature was trying to communicate with her somehow. "Oh my God," Maya whispered, kneeling down carefully. "What are you?" The creature, for lack of a better word, Maya found herself thinking of it as a dragonling, was clearly dying. Its breathing was shallow and labored. Dark liquid that might have been blood seeped from several wounds along its side. One wing appeared to be badly damaged, possibly broken. Maya had volunteered at the local animal rescue center for 3 years. She'd helped nurse injured birds, squirrels, and even a few deer back to health. But this was different. This creature wasn't from Earth. She was certain of that. Its anatomy was all wrong for any terrestrial animal, and there was something about its presence that made the air around it feel charged with energy. The first drops of rain began to fall, and Maya made a decision that would change her life forever. She couldn't leave this beautiful, mysterious creature to die alone in the forest. Carefully, she removed her jacket and began to wrap it around the dragonling. The creature didn't resist, though she could see pain flicker in those remarkable amber eyes. "I'm going to help you," Maya said softly, though she had no idea how. "I don't know what you are, but I can't just leave you here." The dragonling was surprisingly light, no heavier than a house cat despite its size. Maya could feel warmth radiating from its body, and occasionally she caught glimpses of soft light pulsing beneath its scales. As she began the difficult journey back to the main trail, the storm broke in earnest. Rain poured down in sheets, making the forest floor slippery and treacherous. Maya stumbled several times, always careful to protect the injured creature in her arms. Lightning illuminated the dark woods in stark, brief moments, followed by crashes of thunder that seemed to shake the very ground. By the time Maya reached her house, she was soaked to the skin and shivering. Her parents' car wasn't in the driveway. They were at her aunt's birthday dinner, an event Maya had begged off from, claiming she had too much homework. For once, she was grateful for her antisocial tendencies. She slipped through the back door and headed straight for her room, trying not to drip too much water on her mother's hardwood floors. The dragonling had remained still during the journey, but Maya could feel its heart beating rapidly against her chest. In her room, Maya cleared off her desk and created a makeshift bed using towels and an old sweater. She placed the dragonling down gently and turned on her desk lamp to get a better look at its injuries. The creature was even more beautiful up close. Its scales weren't just blue and silver. There were hints of green and purple that shifted depending on the angle of the light. The damaged wing was definitely broken, with what looked like tears in the delicate membrane. The wounds on its side were deep but had stopped bleeding. Maya had supplies from her work at the animal rescue: bandages, antiseptic, even some basic pain medication. But she hesitated. What if alien physiology was completely different? What if human medicine was toxic to this creature? As if sensing her uncertainty, the Dragonling's eyes opened again. This time, Maya was ready for the strange sensation that followed. It wasn't quite telepathy, but it was definitely communication of some kind. Images flashed through her mind, not words, but concepts and emotions. Gratitude, trust, hope. The Dragonling was telling her it was okay to help. Maya spent the next 2 hours carefully, cleaning the creature's wounds and splinting its broken wing using popsicle sticks and medical tape. The Dragonling remained still throughout the process, though she could see it was in considerable pain. When she was finished, she offered it water from a small dish. The creature drank gratefully, its long, forked tongue lapping at the liquid. "What are you?" Maya whispered again, gently stroking the Dragonling's head. Its scales were warm and surprisingly soft. "Where did you come from?" The creature's eyes began to close, exhaustion finally taking hold. But just before it fell asleep, Maya felt another flash of communication. An image of stars, vast distances, and something that might have been longing. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but Maya barely noticed. She sat at her desk watching the strange, beautiful creature sleep and wondered if her life would ever be the same again. Maya woke the next morning to the sound of her parents moving around downstairs. Panic shot through her as she remembered the events of the previous night. Had it all been a strange dream? She turned toward her desk and felt relief flood through her. The Dragonling was still there, sleeping peacefully on its makeshift bed. In the morning light streaming through her window, the creature looked even more extraordinary. Its scales caught the sunlight and threw it back in tiny rainbows across her bedroom walls. The wounds she'd treated the night before looked better already. Not healed, but definitely cleaner and less angry looking. "Maya." "Breakfast," her mother called from downstairs. "Coming, Mom," Maya called back, then lowered her voice to a whisper. "I'll be right back, okay?" The Dragonling's eyes opened at the sound of her voice, and again Maya felt that strange sensation of communication. This time it was clearer, a feeling of safety and trust that made her heart skip a beat. Downstairs, her parents were their usual busy morning selves. Her father sat at the kitchen table reading news on his tablet while eating cereal, and her mother packed lunch for her job at the local bank. "How was your evening, sweetheart?" her mother asked, kissing the top of Maya's head. "I hope you got that biology report finished." Maya poured herself orange juice, trying to act normal. "Yeah, it went fine. Got everything done." It wasn't exactly a lie. She had learned more about biology in one night than she had in months of classes. Good girl. "Your father and I were thinking maybe we could do something together this weekend. Go into Portland? Maybe visit that science museum you used to love?" Any other time, Maya would have made an excuse. But today, with the Dragonling upstairs needing her care, the suggestion felt like a trap. "Actually, I've got plans with, Sarah, study group for our chemistry test next week." Her parents exchanged glances. Maya rarely made social plans, but they looked pleased rather than suspicious. "That's wonderful, honey," her father said, looking up from his tablet. "It's good to see you making friends." Maya felt a pang of guilt for lying, but she pushed it aside. They wouldn't understand. How could they? She barely understood it herself. After her parents left for work, Maya hurried back to her room with a plate of scrambled eggs and some cut-up fruit. She wasn't sure what the Dragonling ate, but she figured protein and natural sugars were a good place to start. The creature was awake, its amber eyes tracking her movement as she entered the room. When she held out a small piece of scrambled egg, the Dragonling sniffed it delicately, then took it with surprising gentleness. It ate slowly, thoughtfully, as if analyzing the food's composition. "You like it?" Maya asked softly. The response was immediate, a wave of gratitude mixed with something that felt like pleasant surprise. The Dragonling ate several more pieces of egg before turning its attention to the fruit. It particularly seemed to enjoy the strawberries, and Maya made a mental note to pick up more at the store. Over the next few days, Maya established a routine. She'd go to school, maintain the appearance of normalcy, then hurry home to care for her secret patient. She told her parents she was working on a big project that required lots of alone time in her room, which wasn't entirely false. The Dragonling's recovery was remarkable. By the third day, the wounds on its side had closed completely, leaving only faint silver lines where the scales grew back. Its broken wing was another matter. It would flex and stretch it carefully, but Maya could tell it was still too painful to use properly. What amazed Maya most was the creature's intelligence. It learned to recognize her footsteps on the stairs and would position itself near the edge of its bed to greet her. It understood when she was about to leave and would curl up to sleep until her return. Most remarkably, it began to respond to her voice, tilting its head when she spoke as if understanding not just her tone but her actual words. On Thursday afternoon, Maya was sitting at her desk doing homework while the Dragonling rested nearby. She'd been struggling with a particularly difficult calculus problem for 20 minutes when she felt a gentle touch on her arm. The Dragonling had moved close to her and was looking at her textbook with obvious interest. "You can understand this?" Maya asked, pointing to the equations. The response was complex. Images flashed through her mind of mathematical concepts far beyond anything she'd learned in school. The Dragonling's touch on her textbook was gentle but purposeful, and suddenly Maya saw the solution to her problem laid out clearly in her mind. She worked through the equation following the mental guidance, and it solved easily. "Oh my God," she breathed. "You're not just intelligent, you're brilliant." The Dragonling's response carried a sense of amusement, as if Maya had stated something obvious. That evening, Maya couldn't concentrate on anything else. She sat on her bed with the Dragonling curled up beside her, its warm body pressed against her leg. The creature seemed to enjoy physical contact, often resting its head on her arm while she read or studied. "You're not from Earth, are you?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. The communication that followed was the clearest yet. Images flooded her mind, vast starships moving through space, worlds with multiple moons and strange-colored skies, beings that looked similar to her Dragonling but larger, more magnificent. She saw cities that seemed to grow from living crystal and technology so advanced it looked like magic. But there were darker images too. Explosions, fleeing ships, a sense of desperate urgency. The Dragonling's wing beats as it tried to escape something terrible, only to crash land on an alien world far from home. "You crashed here," Maya realized. "You were running from something." The Dragonling's emotions were complex: fear, loss, but also determination. There was something important about its survival, something that went beyond just its own life. Maya gently stroked the creature's head, feeling the warmth of its scales under her fingers. "It's okay. You're safe now. Whatever was chasing you, they can't find you here." But even as she said the words, Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The Dragonling's response carried a warning. They were still out there, still searching. And they wouldn't give up easily. Friday brought new developments. The Dragonling's wing had healed enough for it to attempt short flights around Maya's room. Its movements were graceful and silent, and Maya realized that the soft glow she'd noticed came not just from its scales, but from some kind of internal energy source. More importantly, the creature had begun trying to communicate in a new way. Instead of just sending emotions and images, it was attempting to form words in Maya's mind. The first clear word came while Maya was getting ready for school. "Maya." She spun around, heart pounding. The Dragonling was looking at her with those intelligent amber eyes, and she knew with absolute certainty that it had spoken her name. Not out loud, but directly into her thoughts. "You can talk," she whispered. "Learning," came the response, clearer than before but still carrying the mental sensation rather than audible sound. "Your language. Difficult but possible." Maya sat down hard on her bed, overwhelmed. "What's your name?" The response was a sound she could never have pronounced with human vocal cords, but somehow she understood its meaning. "I'll call you Zara," she said. "Is that okay?" "Zara," the Dragonling repeated, seeming to test the word. "Yes, good name." That day at school, Maya could barely concentrate. Her best friend Lucy noticed she seemed distracted during lunch. "You've been weird all week," Lucy said, picking at her salad. "Are you okay? You look like you haven't been sleeping." "Just stressed about college applications," Maya lied, feeling terrible about deceiving her friend. But how could she explain? How could she tell anyone that she had an alien creature living in her bedroom? One that could perform mathematical calculations that would make MIT professors weep and was apparently being hunted by its own kind. When Maya got home that afternoon, she found Zara perched on her windowsill looking out at the sky with what seemed like longing. Missing home? Maya asked softly. Home is gone, Zara replied, the words heavy with grief. But mission? Mission continues. What mission? Zara turned from the window, amber eyes serious. Must warn. Must prepare. They come for all worlds, Maya. Earth must be ready. Maya felt her blood turn cold. Ready for what? But Zara's answer would change everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the universe. The silence that followed Zara's words felt heavy with unspoken dread. Maya stared at her alien companion, trying to process what she'd just heard. Earth needed to be ready, but for what? Tell me everything, Maya said, settling cross-legged on her bed. Start from the beginning. Zara moved from the windowsill to join her, those intelligent amber eyes growing distant as if seeing across vast spans of space and time. When the communication came, it wasn't just words, but a flood of images and emotions that left Maya gasping. My people, we are called Dragonling in your language. We have watched the stars for thousands of your years, mapping worlds, cataloging species, maintaining peace between the star nations. Zara's mental voice grew stronger as she continued, more confident with each word. We are scouts, diplomats, guardians of knowledge. Maya saw images of magnificent beings like Zara, but larger, more mature, with scales that shifted through entire spectrums of color. They moved through space in ships that looked grown rather than built, organic curves that pulsed with the same inner light she saw in Zara's scales. But something changed, Maya said, sensing the darkness creeping into Zara's emotions. The Devourers. The word came with such force that Maya actually flinched. Along with it came images of terror, massive ships of black metal, worlds stripped bare, entire civilizations reduced to silent, empty husks. They consume everything. Life, energy, entire star systems. They appeared from beyond the edge of our galaxy 5 cycles ago. Maya watched in horror as the images continued. Worlds that had been green and beautiful turned gray and lifeless. The Dragonling fleet fighting desperately against an enemy that seemed endless. Ships falling from the sky like dying stars. We tried to fight. We tried to warn others, but they are too powerful, too numerous. One by one, the star nations fell. Zara's grief was overwhelming, and Maya found tears running down her cheeks. My world. My family. I'm so sorry, Maya whispered, reaching out to gently touch Zara's head. The physical contact seemed to comfort the young dragon, and the waves of anguish lessened slightly. The last of our fleet scattered across the galaxy, carrying warning seeds to young worlds, primitive worlds that the Devourers had not yet noticed. I was chosen for this mission because I am small, fast, hard to detect. But my ship... Zara's wing twitched, still tender from its injuries. Engine failure. Lucky to reach your world alive. Maya felt a chill run through her. How long do we have? Unknown. The Devourers move slowly, systematically. They have found Earth's general location, but this spiral arm of your galaxy has many systems. They will check each one. Zara's eyes met Maya's. Could be years, could be months. And what am I supposed to do with this information? Maya asked, feeling overwhelmed. I'm just a teenager from a small town in Oregon. Who's going to believe me? You underestimate yourself, Maya Chen. Zara moved closer, and Maya felt a surge of confidence that didn't come from her own mind. I have been studying your species through your networks, your information systems. Humans are remarkable. Remarkable how? What followed was perhaps the most surprising conversation of Maya's life. Through Zara's perception, she began to see humanity in a completely different light. Most young species we encounter are either too primitive to help themselves or too advanced to change quickly. But humans, you are perfectly balanced, advanced enough to understand the danger, primitive enough to adapt rapidly. Zara's mental voice carried what Maya could only describe as excitement. Your species has survived ice ages, plagues, wars that should have destroyed you. Instead, you grew stronger. Maya thought about human history, the countless times their species had faced extinction and somehow pulled through. You think we can fight these Devourers? Not fight. Not as we tried to fight. Images flashed through Maya's mind, the failed battles of the Dragonling, the overwhelming power of the Devourer fleets. But survive, hide, prepare. When they come, be ready to endure, to preserve, to continue. Over the following days, Maya found herself looking at the world with new eyes. Every human innovation, every act of resilience, every stubborn refusal to give up took on new significance. She began to understand why Zara had been so fascinated by her calculus homework. To the young dragon, human problem-solving wasn't just impressive, it was potentially the key to survival. "Show me what you know about Earth's defenses," Maya said one evening, pulling up news websites on her laptop. Zara studied the screen with intense interest. "Your weapons are crude but numerous. Your military leaders understand strategy, but these devourers care nothing for armies or missiles. Then what do they care about? Energy, life force. They consume the electrical activity of living brains, the quantum vibrations of biological systems." Zara's explanation made Maya shudder. A planet full of thinking beings is like a feast to them. Maya stared at the screen, watching news reports about conflicts around the world, political arguments, environmental concerns. None of it seemed to matter now. So how do we hide an entire planet's worth of thinking beings? We don't hide them. We teach them to think differently. This concept took Maya several days to fully grasp. Through patient explanation and shared mental images, Zara showed her how the devourers detected inhabited worlds. They looked for specific patterns of electromagnetic activity, the kind generated by complex brains engaged in higher reasoning, emotional processing, and creative thinking. "But you can't just tell people to stop thinking," Maya protested. "Not stop thinking. Think differently. Your brains are incredibly flexible, more so than any species we have encountered. With proper training, humans can learn to mask their mental signatures, to project false patterns, even to create interference that confuses devourer sensors." Maya felt a spark of hope. "Like mental camouflage, exactly, but it requires practice, discipline, and it must begin soon with the right people." That night, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling while Zara slept curled up beside her. The young dragon's breathing was steady and peaceful, but Maya's mind raced with possibilities and terrors in equal measure. She was 16 years old. 3 weeks ago, her biggest worry had been whether she'd get into a good college. Now she apparently held the key to humanity's survival. The weight of it felt crushing, but as the days passed, Maya began to change. Zara's confidence in human potential was infectious. More than that, the young dragon's mental exercises, teaching Maya to control her thought patterns, to project specific emotional frequencies, to mask her natural mental signature, were actually working. Within a week, Maya could make herself mentally invisible for several minutes at a time. Within 2 weeks, she could project the mental pattern of different emotions at will. By the 3rd week, she was creating complex interference patterns that Zara said would confuse even advanced devourer detection systems. "You learn faster than I hoped possible," Zara told her one afternoon. "Your species' adaptability is truly remarkable." Maya was practicing a particularly difficult exercise, projecting the mental signature of multiple personalities simultaneously, when she felt something new. A presence at the edge of her consciousness, faint but definitely there. "Zara," she said slowly, "are there others like you? Other Dragonari who made it to Earth?" Zara's head snapped up, amber eyes wide with sudden hope. "You sense something?" Maya concentrated, extending the mental awareness Zara had been teaching her. There, at the very edge of her perception, was another consciousness. Alien, definitely not human, but different from Zara somehow. Older, more powerful. "Northwest," Maya said, pointing instinctively. "Maybe 50 miles. In the mountains." Zara was already moving toward the window, her recovered wing beginning to glow with excitement. "We must go now, if there is another survivor." But Maya was already shaking her head, a terrible certainty growing in her stomach. The presence she sensed wasn't friendly. It wasn't a fellow refugee at all, it was a hunter, and it had just detected them. The moment Maya spoke, Zara went rigid. The young dragon's scales shifted from their usual blue-silver to deep crimson, a warning color that made Maya's heart race with instinctive fear. "Not a survivor," Zara whispered, her mental voice tight with terror. "A stalker." Images flooded Maya's mind, creatures that looked like twisted versions of the Dragonari, their natural beauty corrupted by devourer technology. Where Zara's scales shimmered with organic light, the stalkers bore dark metal implants that pulsed with sickly energy. Their eyes glowed red instead of amber, and their minds had been hollowed out and filled with the devourer's singular hunger. They take my people, Zara continued, backing away from the window as if the hunter could see through the walls. Transform them. Use their knowledge of star maps, of young worlds, of how to find hidden colonies. Maya felt sick. So they know you're here. Not yet. The mental exercises I taught you, they work both ways. We have been masking our presence. But now that we know it is there, Zara's eyes closed in concentration. It knows something is wrong. It is searching, actively scanning. How long do we have? Hours, maybe less. Maya's mind raced through possibilities. Her parents wouldn't be home until late. They had their weekly date night at the movies in the next town over. But even if they were here, what could she tell them? What could any human do against alien technology? Zara, you said your people were advanced. Don't you have weapons? Technology we could use? The young dragon looked at her with something like surprise. You want to fight? I want to survive. And I want to protect you. Maya was surprised by the fierceness in her own voice. Over the past weeks, Zara had become more than just a strange creature she was caring for. The dragon was her friend, her teacher, her window into a vast universe she'd never imagined. Tell me what we can do. What followed was Maya's first real introduction to Dragonling technology. Zara moved to a section of Maya's bedroom wall and placed her small clawed hand against it. The scales on her palm began to glow, and Maya watched in amazement as what looked like circuitry spread across the wallpaper, intricate patterns of light that pulsed with the same energy she'd seen in Zara's scales. My ship, Zara explained as she worked. When I crashed, pieces scattered across your forest. I have been calling them here slowly, carefully, so as not to be detected. The light patterns formed complex geometric shapes, and suddenly Maya understood. You've been rebuilding it here in my room. Not rebuilding, integrating. Dragonling technology is living technology. It adapts, grows, bonds with its environment. Zara stepped back and Maya gasped. Her bedroom wall was gone, replaced by what looked like the interior of a starship. Curved surfaces that seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. Controls that responded to thought rather than touch, and at the center of it all, a viewing screen that showed a three-dimensional map of the local area. This is impossible, Maya breathed, reaching out to touch one of the organic-looking control panels. It felt warm under her fingers, almost like touching Zara's scales. Your species has a saying. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But this is not magic. Maya, this is the result of 10,000 years of evolution, of learning to work with the universe instead of against it. On the viewing screen, a red dot pulsed in the mountains northwest of town. As Maya watched, it began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing speed toward their location. It has found our general direction, Zara said, her scales shifting to deeper shades of red. We have perhaps 2 hours before it arrives. Then we run. Where? It will track us anywhere on this world. And there are others, a full hunting pack. I am one small dragon against an entire stalker unit. Zara's despair was overwhelming. I have failed. I could not complete my mission. Could not prepare your people, could not even protect myself. Maya felt something fierce and protective rise up in her chest. You haven't failed anything. And you're not one small dragon anymore. You have me. Zara looked at her with those intelligent amber eyes, and Maya felt a flash of complex emotion. Hope mixed with fear, affection tangled with responsibility. Maya, you do not understand. You are brave, but you are also untrained, unaugmented. Against a stalker, even I would struggle. Then don't fight fair. The idea came to Maya suddenly, born from weeks of listening to Zara's stories about human adaptability and resourcefulness. You said humans are good at surviving, at adapting. Well, this is our world. We know the terrain, the people, the systems. Maybe we can't outfight a stalker, but can we outsmart one? Zara tilted her head, considering. What do you propose? Maya turned to the alien control system, her mind working furiously. You said stalkers use Dragonling knowledge to hunt. They think like Dragonling, expect Dragonling tactics. But what if we don't give them what they expect? Go on. Show me everything this technology can do. Not just the ship functions, everything. And then we're going to do something no Dragonling would ever think of. Maya's grin was sharp with determination. We're going to cheat. What followed was the most intensive crash course in alien technology Maya could have imagined. The Dragonling ship, or what remained of it, was less a machine and more a living extension of its pilot. It could interface directly with biological nervous systems, amplify natural abilities, even temporarily merge multiple consciousnesses into a collective intelligence. This is how we survived so long, Zara explained as she guided Maya through the mental connection process. In crisis, individual Dragonling can join their minds, share knowledge and skills instantly. Maya felt the ship's systems come alive around her, responding to her thoughts as much as Zara's. Information flowed through her mind. Star charts, technical specifications, combat protocols developed over millennia of spacefaring civilization. It should have been overwhelming, but somehow her human brain adapted, categorized, integrated the alien knowledge with her own experience. Incredible, Zara whispered. Your neural pathways are restructuring themselves in real time. I have never seen such rapid adaptation. Maya was barely listening. She was too busy discovering what the combined human Dragonling system could do. The ship's sensors could tap into Earth's communication networks, satellite systems, even the crude radar installations humans use to track aircraft. More than that, it could manipulate them. Zara, Maya said slowly, how good are these stalkers at understanding human technology? They know the basics, electromagnetic principles, nuclear physics, basic computer systems. Why? Maya's grin widened. Because I think I know how to kill one. The plan she outlined was completely insane by Dragonling standards. It involved hijacking half the communication satellites over North America, overloading 3 different power grids, and using the resulting electromagnetic pulse to mask a very specific type of explosion. It was wasteful, inefficient, and would probably cause massive disruption to human society. It was also exactly the kind of chaotic, unpredictable approach that no stalker would anticipate. You want to use your entire planetary infrastructure as a weapon, Zara said, her mental voice filled with what might have been admiration or horror. Why not? It's our planet, our infrastructure, our rules. Maya's hands moved over the ship's controls, feeling more confident with each passing moment. Besides, you said humans are good at adaptation. Time to prove it. The red dot on the screen was moving faster now, less than an hour away. Maya could feel something else through the ship's sensors. A cold, hungry presence that made her skin crawl. The stalker was no longer just searching. It was hunting. Maya, Zara said softly, if this fails, it won't fail. Maya's voice was steady, filled with a confidence she didn't entirely feel. And even if it does, we'll face it together. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the Oregon forest in shades of gold and red. In her bedroom-turned starship, Maya Chen prepared to fight for her world, her friend, and the future of humanity itself. The stalker was coming, but Maya was ready. The first sign of the stalker's arrival wasn't visible. It was a feeling that crawled across Maya's skin like ice water. Through her connection to the ship's sensors, she felt the alien presence descending from the upper atmosphere, moving with predatory grace toward their location. It's here, Zara whispered, her scales now deep crimson with fear and readiness. Maya's hands flew over the organic controls, activating systems she'd learned to use just hours before. On the viewing screen, dozens of windows opened showing satellite feeds, power grid monitoring systems, and communication networks across the Pacific Northwest. To anyone watching, it would look like random system glitches, the kind of minor technical failures that happened every day. But Maya was orchestrating something far more sophisticated. Beginning Phase 1, she announced, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The first satellite to go offline was a weather monitoring station over Seattle, then a GPS satellite serving the Oregon coast. Within minutes, Maya had created a cascading series of failures that would draw the stalker's attention away from her small town and toward the major population centers. Clever, Zara admitted, watching the display with growing admiration. You are making it think there is a larger Dragonling presence in your cities. That's the idea, but it's not going to work for long. Maya could already see the stalker adjusting its search pattern, its artificial intelligence beginning to recognize the deception. How close is it now? 3 kilometers and closing. Maya, I should tell you, stalkers do not just hunt. They enjoy it. When it realizes we have tricked it. Zara's mental voice trailed off, but the images she shared were clear enough. Stalkers took pleasure in causing fear and pain before the kill. Then we better make sure the trick works. Maya's fingers found a new set of controls, ones that interfaced directly with the local power infrastructure. Phase 2 coming up. What happened next would be talked about for years in electrical engineering circles. Every power plant between Portland and Vancouver began operating at 150% capacity simultaneously. Transformers that should have blown their safety circuits instead pushed electricity through the grid at levels that made transmission lines glow in the dark. The Stalker, descending through the forest canopy just 2 kilometers away, suddenly found itself flying through an electromagnetic field so intense that its enhanced senses were temporarily blinded. That's when Maya sprung her real trap. Now, Zara, the young dragon, launched herself toward the window, her wing membranes blazing with stored energy. But instead of flying out to face the Stalker directly, she pressed herself against the glass and released every erg of power she'd been storing since her recovery. The pulse of pure Dragonling energy, amplified by the ship's systems and focused through Maya's neural interface, shot upward into the ionosphere just as the overloaded power grid collapsed in a carefully orchestrated cascade failure. For exactly 3.7 seconds, a column of electromagnetic energy containing both human electrical patterns and alien bioluminescent signatures rose from Maya's small town like a beacon visible from orbit. The Stalker, its senses already overwhelmed by the power grid overload, focused on this massive energy signature just as Maya triggered the final phase of her plan. Every cell phone tower, radio antenna, and wireless rotor within 50 miles began broadcasting white noise at maximum power simultaneously. The cacophony of electronic interference coming from every direction at once created a sonic and electromagnetic storm that would have been visible from space if anyone had been looking. At the exact center of this storm, Maya's house went completely dark and silent. "Did it work?" Maya whispered, not daring to move from her position at the alien controls. Through the ship's passive sensors, they watched the Stalker circling high above, confused and increasingly agitated. The creature, and Maya could see now that it truly was a corrupted Dragonling. Its beautiful scales replaced with dark metal implants, was scanning frantically for the energy source it had detected, but the source had vanished as completely as if it had never existed. For 20 minutes, the Stalker continued its search pattern. Maya watched its growing frustration through the sensors, feeling almost sorry for the creature despite everything Zara had told her about what it had become. Then, just as Maya began to hope they had succeeded, everything went wrong. The Stalker stopped circling and dropped toward the ground like a stone, landing in Maya's backyard with enough force to shatter her mother's garden gnomes. Through the window, Maya could see it clearly for the first time. It had been magnificent once. Even corrupted by Devourer technology, traces of Dragonling grace remained in its movements. But the red glow of its implants cast everything in hellish light, and when it raised its head toward Maya's bedroom window, she saw eyes that held no trace of the intelligence and compassion she'd come to love in Zara. "It knows we're here," Maya said, her voice tight with controlled panic. "Impossible. The interference should have—" Zara stopped mid-sentence, her scales paling to almost white. "Oh no. Maya, the mental connection we share, the neural interface with the ship. It creates a unique resonance pattern. The Stalker isn't tracking our technology. It's tracking us." The Stalker's head turned directly toward their window, and Maya felt the full force of its attention like a physical blow. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in her mind with a voice like grinding metal. "Young scout, you have led us a merry chase, but game's end now." Maya felt Zara shrink against her, terror radiating from the young dragon in waves. "Maya, you must run. Get as far from here as possible. Maybe it will follow me and leave you alone." Not happening. Maya's hands moved to a new section of the ship's controls, ones that glowed with dangerous red light. "Zara, are there any weapons on this ship?" "Maya, no. You cannot fight a Stalker directly. Its augmentations make it faster, stronger." "I said, are there weapons?" Zara's mental voice was tiny with fear. "The ship's core. It can overload, create a focused energy discharge. But Maya, it would destroy everything within a kilometer radius. Your town, your people, my people are at the movies 20 miles away, remember?" Maya's smile was grim. "And the nearest neighbors are 3 kilometers east. The blast wouldn't reach them. You would die too." Maya looked at Zara, this beautiful, intelligent creature who had become her closest friend, and opened her eyes to wonders beyond imagining. Maybe. Or maybe humans are more adaptable than you think. Outside, the stalker began moving toward the house with predatory patience. Its implants cast dancing red shadows on the walls of Maya's bedroom as it approached. "Maya," Zara said softly, "I need to tell you something. The warning mission, preparing Earth for the Devourers, it was never meant to be completed by one small scout. It would take years, maybe decades, to properly prepare a species for what is coming. Then why were you sent? Because sometimes the best we can do is plant a seed and hope it grows." Zara moved closer to Maya, pressing against her side with reptilian warmth. "I was never expected to save your world. I was only expected to find the right person and give them the tools to begin." Maya understood. The neural interface, the ship's technology, the mental training. "You have learned in weeks what takes my people years to master. You think in ways we never could, see solutions we would never consider. Maya Chen, you are not just a human who found a dying alien. You are the seed of something new." The stalker reached the back door and began to tear through it with claws that glowed with energy discharge. They had maybe 30 seconds before it reached the stairs. "Zara," Maya said quietly. "Trust me one more time?" "Always." Maya's hands moved to the core overload controls, but not in the way Zara expected. Instead of triggering an explosion, she began a controlled discharge, not outward but inward, into herself and the neural interface that connected her to the ship's systems. "Maya, what are you doing?" "Something no Draknari would ever think of," Maya replied, feeling alien energy coursing through her human nervous system. "I'm adapting." The last thing she saw before the transformation began was the stalker breaking through her bedroom door, red eyes blazing with triumph. The last thing the stalker saw was a human girl surrounded by light that shouldn't have been possible, smiling with confidence that no prey should possess. Maya opened her eyes to find herself floating 3 feet above her bedroom floor, surrounded by a cocoon of energy that pulsed with the rhythm of her heartbeat. The stalker stood frozen in the doorway, its red glowing implants flickering erratically as if struggling to process what it was seeing. "Impossible," the creature hissed, its mental voice no longer confident. "Human neural patterns cannot interface with Draknari biotechnology. The species incompatibility is apparently overrated," Maya replied, and was surprised to discover her voice carried both audible sound and direct mental transmission simultaneously. She looked down at her hands and gasped. Her skin showed a faint tracery of silver lines that pulsed with the same inner light as Zara's scales. The neural interface hadn't just connected her to the ship's systems, it had begun rewriting her biology at the cellular level, creating new pathways that bridged human and Draknari physiology. "Maya," Zara whispered in awe, "you're becoming something new." The transformation was accelerating. Maya could feel knowledge flooding her mind. Not just information about Draknari technology, but understanding of quantum mechanics, biotechnology, and space-time manipulation that would have taken human scientists decades to develop. More than that, she could sense the ship's systems responding to her thoughts as naturally as moving her own limbs. The stalker recovered from its shock and lunged forward, claws extended and crackling with deadly energy. Maya raised her hand almost casually, and the creature slammed into an invisible barrier that sent it tumbling backward through the bedroom wall. "You cannot hide behind force fields forever. Hybrid," the stalker snarled, circling Maya's house like a predator. "I will tear this structure apart piece by piece," but Maya wasn't hiding. She was learning, through her enhanced senses. She could perceive the stalker's augmentations in detail, how they overrode the creature's natural Draknari abilities, how they connected to some vast network spanning the galaxy, how they turned a being of beauty and intelligence into nothing more than a hunting machine. "Zara," Maya said softly, "I can see how to free it." "Maya, no." Zara's alarm was immediate and intense. "The augmentation process is irreversible. The Devourers make sure of that. To remove the implants would kill the host, would it?" Maya studied the patterns of energy flowing through the stalker's corrupted form. Or is that just what they want everyone to believe? What Maya saw gave her hope. The Devourer technology wasn't truly integrated with the stalker's biology. It was parasitic, feeding on the host's life force while suppressing their natural abilities. But the original Draknari patterns were still there, buried beneath layers of alien machinery. "I'm going to try something," Maya announced, floating down to ground level but maintaining the energy cocoon around herself. She walked outside to face the stalker directly. The creature immediately attacked, moving with inhuman speed and striking with claws that could tear through steel. But Maya was no longer entirely human herself. She moved through the stalker's attacks like water, her enhanced reflexes making its movements seem slow and clumsy. When she reached out and touched the creature's forehead, both she and the stalker screamed. The mental connection was agony, like trying to embrace a star while swimming through acid. The Devourer technology fought Maya's intrusion, sending viral programs into her mind designed to corrupt and enslave. But Maya's human neural patterns, already changed by the Dragonling interface, proved uniquely resistant to the attack. Instead of being overwhelmed, Maya began to understand how the parasitic technology worked, and once she understood it, she began to dismantle it. The process took 17 minutes that felt like hours. Maya had to trace each implant connection, isolate the Devourer programs from the host's natural patterns, and carefully extract the parasitic elements without damaging what remained of the original Dragonling consciousness. When it was over, both Maya and the freed stalker collapsed to the ground exhausted. "Keth?" Zara called tentatively, approaching the creature that had moments before been trying to kill them. The former stalker raised its head, and Maya saw that its eyes had changed from corrupted red to natural amber gold. "Little Scout," it said in a voice cracked with disuse, "how long have I been gone?" "Too long, old friend. Too long." What followed was a reunion that brought tears to Maya's eyes. Keth, it turned out, had been one of Zara's instructors at the Dragonling Navigation Academy. He had been captured during the fall of their home world and converted into a stalker nearly a year ago, time he remembered only as fragments of nightmare and rage. "But if you can free one stalker," Maya said, the implications hitting her with stunning clarity, "then we can free others." "More than that," Keth replied, his voice growing stronger as he recovered from the extraction process. "Through the stalker network I learned things. Locations of Devourer fleets, their planned invasion routes, the locations of other converted species." Maya felt a familiar sensation, the universe shifting around her as new possibilities opened up. "We can build a resistance." Over the next few hours, as Maya's parents remained safely oblivious at their movie night, the three of them planned what would later be called the Liberation Protocol. Using the ship's communication systems, they would locate other Dragonling survivors scattered across Earth, then work together to identify and free captured stalkers throughout the local star cluster. But Maya's transformation had given her an even more ambitious idea. "Zara," she said as dawn approached, "you said the Devourers were looking for thinking beings to consume. What if we could hide Earth's population by changing how humans think? The mental exercises I taught you were designed for individuals, perhaps small groups. To modify the thought patterns of an entire species," Zara's mental voice trailed off in consideration, "would be impossible using traditional Dragonling methods," Keth agreed. "But you are no longer traditional anything, are you?" Maya looked at her hands, still traced with silver lines that pulsed with alien energy. She could feel the ship's systems humming in harmony with her heartbeat, and beyond that, a growing awareness of the quantum fields that connected all living things. "What if we didn't modify thought patterns directly?" Maya asked. "What if we taught humans to do it themselves?" The idea was revolutionary. Instead of trying to reach 7 billion people individually, they would create a new form of technology, part Dragonling biotechnology, part human innovation, that could spread organically through human society. "A symbiotic system," Maya explained, her enhanced mind already visualizing the possibilities, "something that enhances human abilities while teaching mental discipline. Make it something people would want. Better reflexes, enhanced intelligence, improved health, and they'll adopt it willingly." "And once they have it," Zara added, understanding dawning in her amber eyes, "they'll naturally learn the mental techniques needed to hide from Devourer detection." Keth was nodding slowly. "It could work, but the development time would normally take decades," Maya finished. "But I'm not working with normal parameters anymore, am I?" She could feel it now. The fusion of human creativity with Dragonling knowledge, enhanced by technology that existed at the intersection of biology and quantum mechanics. Ideas flowed through her mind at impossible speed, connections forming between concepts that should have been incompatible. "I can create the base template in weeks, not years," Maya said with growing confidence. Something that looks like human technology but carries Dragonling modifications. We introduce it through human networks, gaming systems, social media, entertainment platforms. A Trojan horse made of enlightenment, Keth said admiringly. The humans will evolve their own defenses without even realizing it. As the sun rose over Oregon, Maya Chen stood in her backyard next to two alien beings who had become her closest friends and allies. Her house showed signs of the previous night's battle. Broken walls, scorched earth where the stalker had landed, her mother's garden completely destroyed. But Maya felt only excitement, because she finally understood what the incredible something was going to be. Humanity wasn't going to hide from the devourers. They weren't going to cower and hope for rescue. They were going to evolve. 6 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the orbital platform that had once been the International Space Station, watching Earth turn slowly below her. But the planet she looked down upon was no longer the same world where a teenage girl had found a dying alien in a forest clearing. "Status report," she said, though the question was directed as much to the quantum network humming in her enhanced consciousness as to the beings around her. "Integration at 73% and accelerating," replied Dr. Sarah Martinez, formerly a NASA engineer and now one of the lead architects of what the media had dubbed the enhancement. Like Maya, silver tracery now ran beneath her skin, but Sarah's patterns were uniquely her own. Each human who underwent the symbiosis developed individual neural pathways that reflected their personality and skills. "Devourer scouts detected in the Proxima Centauri system," added Commander Jiang Wei, his military background evident in the tactical displays that flowed around his augmented form. "ETA to Earth's outer sensor perimeter, 14 months. Maya nodded, feeling neither fear nor satisfaction at the news. The timeline was proceeding exactly as projected. "And the volunteer program? Applications are coming in faster than we can process them," said a new voice, Dr. Emily Chen, no relation despite the shared name, who had been studying the psychological effects of human Dragonling integration. "We're seeing spontaneous evolution in people who haven't even been directly enhanced. Just being around integrated individuals seems to trigger latent potential in the human genome." It was true. What had started as a desperate plan to hide humanity from alien predators had become something far more profound. The symbiotic technology Maya had developed didn't just teach humans to mask their mental signatures. It unlocked capabilities that had been dormant in human DNA for millennia. Enhanced reflexes, expanded sensory perception, and quantum-level intuition were just the beginning. Humans were developing abilities that even the Dragonling found remarkable. The capacity to interface directly with electronic systems, to perceive probability streams, to manipulate matter at the molecular level through focused thought. "Show me the global integration map," Maya requested. The air around her filled with a three-dimensional representation of Earth, colored regions showing the spread of enhancement throughout the human population. What had begun in Maya's small Oregon town now covered continents. The symbiotic technology had spread through human networks exactly as planned, but faster than anyone had anticipated. "We estimate that within 18 months, the majority of human civilization will have at least basic integration," Dr. Martinez reported. "And the beauty of it is most of them think they're just using advanced virtual reality systems or medical nanobots." Maya smiled. The Trojan horse approach had worked perfectly. Humans were enthusiastically adopting technology that promised better gaming experiences, enhanced learning capabilities, and improved health monitoring. They had no idea they were simultaneously developing the mental discipline needed to hide from galaxy-spanning predators. "Zara, what's the status of the liberation efforts?" The young dragon, now grown to her full adult size and bearing scales that shimmered with rainbow hues impossible in pure Dragonling genetics, materialized beside Maya in a cascade of light. The symbiosis worked both ways. Dragonling who bonded with human technology gained new abilities just as humans gained access to alien knowledge. "We have freed 1,147 stalkers across 17 star systems," Zara reported, her mental voice now carrying harmonics that resonated through both biological and quantum dimensions. "Each freed individual becomes a node in the resistance network. The devourers are beginning to experience communication delays and coordination failures. And Keth, leading the assault on the devourer staging area in the Vega system. His task force includes freed stalkers, surviving Dragonling, and 24 enhanced humans who volunteered for deep space operations. Maya felt a moment of pride mixed with sadness. Keth had become like an older brother to her, but the war against the Devourers required sacrifices from all of them. At least now, thanks to the quantum communication network they'd developed, distance was no barrier to maintaining contact. "Maya," Dr. Martinez said quietly, "there's something else you should see." The display changed to show sensor readings from the outer system. Maya studied the data for a moment, then felt her enhanced consciousness expand to encompass the full scope of what she was seeing. "They're already here," she said calmly. 3 Devourer scout ships had entered the outer reaches of the solar system, their massive black hulls absorbing light and energy as they moved through space like holes in reality. But they weren't approaching Earth directly. Instead, they hung at the edge of the system, scanning and probing, apparently confused by what their sensors were detecting. "They can sense the population," Commander Zhang reported, "but the mental signatures are all wrong. Instead of the chaotic thought patterns they expect from primitive civilizations, they're detecting organized, disciplined minds that don't match their prey profiles. More than that," Zara added with satisfaction, "the quantum resonance network we've established makes it look like Earth has a population of several billion Dragonling. To their sensors, this system appears to be defended by an advanced spacefaring civilization." Maya watched the Devourer ships maintain their distance, clearly uncertain how to proceed. Their entire strategy was based on overwhelming primitive worlds with superior technology and numbers. They had no protocol for dealing with what appeared to be an equal or superior force. "How long before they realized the truth?" Maya asked. "Unknown," Commander Zhang admitted. "But probably not long. They'll eventually send boarding parties or attempt direct communication. Then it's time for the next phase." Maya turned to address not just the beings on the platform, but the millions of enhanced humans and Dragonling scattered across the solar system. Through the quantum network, her words would reach every integrated mind simultaneously. "My friends," she began, "6 months ago, I was just a girl who found a wounded alien in the forest. Today, we are something new. Not human, not Dragonling, but a fusion of both species that is greater than either could be alone." She gestured toward the display showing the Devourer ships. "These creatures have spent eons consuming worlds, destroying civilizations, turning the universe into a lifeless void. They see themselves as the ultimate predators with no natural enemies or equals." Maya's smile was fierce with anticipation. They're about to discover they're wrong. What happened next would be remembered as the moment humanity truly left childhood behind and took its place among the stars. Across Earth's surface, millions of enhanced humans began to act in perfect coordination. Satellite networks that had been quietly modified over the past months suddenly revealed their true capabilities. The enhanced individuals scattered throughout space stations, lunar bases, and asteroid mining operations began working together with seamless precision. The 3 Devourer scouts found themselves facing not a primitive world ripe for consumption, but a coordinated defense network that spanned the entire solar system. Weapons that appeared to be simple communication satellites suddenly revealed themselves as quantum cannons. Mining platforms became mobile fortresses. Even individual enhanced humans proved capable of feats that violated everything the Devourers thought they knew about biological limitations. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, 2 of the Devourer ships were drifting hulks, their crew captured rather than killed. The 3rd ship fled toward deep space, carrying news that would shake the Devourer empire to its foundations. For the first time in their species' history, they had encountered effective resistance. "Status?" Maya asked as the quantum network settled back into monitoring mode. "All Devourer forces neutralized or fled," reported Commander Zhang. "No significant casualties on our side. The captured crews are being prepared for liberation protocol. Integration rate has jumped to 89% globally," added Dr. Martinez. "Witnessing the battle seems to have triggered mass awakening events. People who were resistant to enhancement are suddenly volunteering in unprecedented numbers." Maya nodded, unsurprised. Humanity had always risen to meet challenges when the stakes were clear. Now that people understood what they were facing, the remaining barriers to enhancement would disappear quickly. "Zara, what's our status with the freed stalker networks? The resistance is spreading exponentially. Every freed individual becomes a beacon for others." and the Devourer communication networks are increasingly compromised. We estimate their empire-wide coordination will collapse within 5 years. Maya looked out at the stars. No longer points of distant light, but destinations within reach. The enhancement had given humanity capabilities their species had never dreamed of. But more importantly, it had given them purpose and unity. You know, she said thoughtfully, when I found you in that forest, I thought I was saving one small alien creature. Instead, Zara replied with warmth that resonated through both voice and quantum connection, you saved 2 entire species and possibly the galaxy itself. We saved each other, Maya corrected. And we're just getting started. She was right. Within a decade, human Dreknari hybrid explorers would reach distant galaxies, bringing liberation to countless enslaved species. The